Hi, morning all. Right then, today we're going to look at hints and tips on what to look out for with your Discovery 2. My first tip is go on eBay and look up Toyota Land Cruisers and Amazons and perhaps a Toyota Surf. Very good, very efficient and probably less trouble. Okay. Alright then, if you don't want to do that, then you want the Discovery, then look for a V8. Invariably, the lower mileage, and they've been owned by people who can afford to run them, so they'll be in better condition, good service history. Okay, although the the fuel costs will be eye-watering. But the good news is there's a social aspect concerned with having to go to the fuel station quite a lot, and that is of course the social aspect, where you get to meet all the staff attendants and get on first name terms, because you'll be seeing them quite a lot. Okay, so can't afford a V8. In that case it'll have to be the TD5. The good old venerable TD5. Right then, I wanted a TD5, well I wanted Discovery 2 ES. ES is the top spec. Now this particular one is a 2000 and it hasn't got cruise control. So it must have been before they started tacking them on, so probably 2001 onwards I'll have cruise. They come in different specs. I wanted leather, CD player, climate. Well, the aircon I'm afraid has stopped working, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The reasons for me wanting one of these was because I've always wanted one. It was on my bucket list. I think they're cool, they look great, and I wanted something you could throw 7 people in, toddle off to the seaside, have a good time, come back on a tow truck. Something to tow my trailer, and most important of all, something to get me to work in the snow, so I don't have to dig out the blooming drive. Okay, it's not a long drive, but we don't do digging anymore, so I need something 4-wheel drive, get me to work. That's why I wanted one. And I wanted the ES because it's got all the toys, well, toys from 2000, primarily because in the third row of seating you get one of them. That means you can cycle through the radio, cassette or CD player, and it's quite good. It works. These didn't work when I got this at first. I had to fix them, along with lots of other things. But you get leather, climate. You don't get cruise control, not with this one. You get a very good CD system with the ES. In fact, the CD player is an Alpine. I didn't know that at the time, but I do now because it's broken, so I'm going to have to replace it. Right, with the ES, you also get to the ACE, the Air Active Cornering Enhancement, and you get air suspension. I like air suspension. Chuck as much weight as you want in the back, still sits level. Bloody marvellous. Of course it fails because one of the bags blow out. We'll come back to that. And of course one of the other things is electrically folding mirrors. Wipers pale into insignificance against electrically folding mirrors. Bloody marvellous. Anyway, that's just me. Right, so what to look out for? As you approach the vehicle you need to have a look around it. First of all, it should be sitting level. If it's still on air and it's not sat level, obviously this is on the drive, so this is a hypothetical situation. If it's not sat level, then somebody's probably changed one of the sensors, the right height sensors, and it's been upset. That'll need a professional chap to sort that out. You're looking for any damage, you're looking for shut lines, so everything's more or less equal, it's not being shunted. The panels on these can be changed. Stuff's more or less in line with what it should be. Okay, and particularly with the rear door, I keep squirting these with WD-40. If you don't want them seizing, because if this thing falls off, you'll know about it. Right, so look around the outside, that looks okay. Next thing you need to check is the chassis. Bad points on these are the outriggers, which are those bits there. Those attach the body to the chassis, so it's quite important that they're in good nick. Have a quick look round. You'll be very surprised if there's no oil leaking at all. There's usually something. Anyway, you want to check all the outriggers. The front ones are the worst because they catch all the crap from the front wheel. As you can see, there's normally nothing in the way to stop all 15 years of road salt pouring backwards and splashing on your stuff. Right then, well, while you're under here checking out the chassis and all the bits, you might as well check for any leaks, particularly around the steering box, which is up there. It looks dreadfully wet. That's normal. Well, it's normal for this one anyway. So these swivel pin ball joints, you can only change them 3 times. After that you have to get the whole new hub, because they're a press fit. If you press them in too many times they get a bit loose, so you've got to change that bit. Right, also, if you're lucky enough still have a shield under the sump, and look after it. You can't get them anymore, they're becoming very, very scarce, and you can't go splashing through any puddles without one, because it makes a right mess and stuff gets everywhere, and mud goes where mud shouldn't go. So my advice is don't, unless you've still got one fitted. I had one when I first got this, but when they changed the starter motor, it got lost or broken, or both. So keep an eye on that. Danger points are the rear chassis here, both sides. Now as you can see, you can't see the top of it because it's a lot more difficult. And being somebody else's vehicle, you can't really take a screwdriver and start poking about, but you can hit it with your fingers. If that looks pretty good. Now this whole chunk can be replaced, so it's not the end of the world if that's what you find. Well, personally I would walk away. No oil from the diffs, that's unusual. Hopefully the thing's been wax oiled from new, so it should be in good nick. Right, that's the chassis looked at. Now the next thing, keys. First press of the key opens the driver's door. Second press opens the passenger door. Passenger door side. The bonnet release is under the dash, all the way under. There we go. Oh look, found some tea. The engine bay. There should be a cover over here. I take mine off in summer, so I like to keep the engine a little bit cooler. Should be a cover on there and a cover over here. Right, this is the important bit on a TD5. What you do, now you've got to do this cold, you can't do it hot, it don't work. You have to remove this cover, and you'll need both hands because it'll be tight. Remove slowly. There's a little bit of a wheeze there, but if the head gasket's gone or the head's cracked, there'll be a whoosh as the escaping gas comes out, and the gurgle and the water level in the reservoir will rise. Remove it all together. Like I said, do not do this hot. If it doesn't work, it's got to be clap cold. Have a look inside. It should be clean and pink. This isn't, because I've had to put some K-seal in to seal the radiator leak. Which actually wasn't a radiator leak at all, it was a bottom hose. But I should ideally flush it out. Right, that's the important thing looked after. If you've got away with that, then obviously you check the oil, because you're looking for mayo. There's nothing on there, that's lovely. And we should know it's lovely because we just changed it. Have a look under there. Now that should be clean and clear. No gunk at all. Okay. Although when my head gaskets went, I never got mayo. I didn't get the white smoke, I didn't get anything apart from gas in the cooling system. Okay, we'll come back to that. Right. Brake fluid reservoir should be clean. Actually this isn't, it needs changing. Under here you should find battery and a jack, and this is the ECU for the engine. Airbox, power steering. Right, now you'll notice that side of the reservoir is empty. That's the side that used to house the fluid for the ACE, which has had to be removed because I couldn't afford to repair it. You're looking about £2.5 grand to reinstate it. It's lottery winning money, is that? Obviously turbo, usual stuff. You're looking for any leaks, any obvious blinding leaks. Sometimes pipe down there, the turbo oil return pipe, that can leak. That's your ABS sensors, ABS modulator. Fuse box is this side. There's a nice little pair of connectors under there which can get wet if that blows out. Clutch, master cylinder, which is fed from the brakes. Right, these TD5s only have 4 heater plugs. Yes, I know, they couldn't even be bothered putting 5 in. There's only 4 heater plugs. Usually each inlet. Right, underneath there, it's barely visible, but there's the diesel regulator fuel thingamywhatsy. That can fail and will drip diesel everywhere. You can smell that when that goes. Okay, right. That's that bit. We've checked the oil, we've checked the water, we're all good. If you hear that gurgle or that water level rising and the gurgling is there, your head gasket's gone and all the head's cracked. You're looking at 1,000 to 1,700 depending on what you want to do. Leather. Right. You'll observe that this is quite a decent seat. That's because I replaced the old one which wasn't. What does them damage or just destroys them is the fact that you slide out. If you get out like a gentleman and put your weight on the step and then climb out carefully, that'll last a lot longer. Right, okay. Check the headlining. Yes, very saggy. And that's because the sunroof's leaked. I mean, they don't just drip. I mean, we're talking cups full. It pours in, and you've got to fix it. One of the ACE sensors is in the roof. There's also other sensors for other things. You cannot leave water sloshing about up there. There's the fuse box, and that's where all the water will run down onto. And that's just what you don't want. You've got to fix it. You either seal it or fix it. Your seat controls are in a very weird position. Work with the ignition on. Ordinary handbrake, but it's a transmission handbrake, doesn't work on the wheels, it works on the transmission, which means if you jack it up to change your wheel, you must chock the other wheels, otherwise it'll just run away and squash you. I had to buy a jack because somebody removed it. Who the hell takes a jack out? It was from a second-hand car. That little thing there, that's the inside temperature control for the aircon and the climate. It helps sometimes to remove that little panel, suck out all the fluff and dust. You'll find it works a lot better. Switches for heated front seats, driver, passenger, window, and switch for stopping people using the windows in the back. Sunroof switches up here, and the switch for stopping use in the back, because there's another switch up there. Right, if I've got 2 sunroofs fitted, I like them working. So I went on the internet, and I got hold of a chap, and I rang him up, and we made an appointment, and I toddled over to Blackpool, took the wife and some of the kids. We met him, I left him my keys and my car, and we walked away. What could go wrong? Nothing. He's a blooming star. He took all the headlining out, he changed the seals, he changed the drain, he didn't change the tube, but he changed the little plastic grommets, little plastic, he changed the little plastic drain tube thingies which fasten onto the inner cartridge. Made a superb job. He made a really good job of cleaning up all the gunk I'd had to put on to stop the rain coming in. He's a star. I heartily recommend him, and he's this chap here. Filled windscreens and sunroof repair. It'll cost between 300 and 400. Well worth it in my estimation. It's been awesome. It's like new. And yeah, well, in fact, I think it'll come to you for a bit extra, so you don't have to worry about leaving your car with a stranger. It's quite funny. We had a day out in Blackpool, came back, dry Land Rover. Almost dry, because not only do the sunroofs leak, but the top of the windscreen as well. So it's a case of folding back the rubber, squirting some sealant in, job's a good one. I also sealed the roof bars, because they leak as well. After that, job's a blooming good and it's been dry. It's excellent. We've had a look at the engine, we've checked that the head gaskets are okay, we've had a look at the chassis, and now you're going to go for a drive. Woohoo! I have to say, if you've been in one of these before, you'll know what I mean. If you've never been in one, and you get out of a car and get into one of these, it's appalling. You cannot believe how somebody can tolerate such a blooming vehicle. There's no room. The gear lever is miles away. You've got this humongous blooming handbrake. You can't get to shove in seat controls. The dashboard lights up like Blackpool illuminations when you turn it on. And there's not as much room as you think. For such a big vehicle. What's going on? Oh, my first experience, I was appalled. I can't believe I actually bought it. It's just like nothing you've ever driven before. And I've driven loads of stuff, but this is way above all that. Right, so we'll start with the ignition, which is down there. Right, first click. That turns on the ciggy lighter. First click turns on the ciggy lighter. The radio comes on anyway for an hour if you press that, and the ancillary stuff. Second click turns on the ignition. Aircon starts, and there's a buzzing. There's a buzzing from under the dash, and there's a buzzing from the fuel pump in the tank. Right, as you can see, I'm going to do that again. Lights up like Blackpool illuminations. The important ones: alternator, oil, that's obviously the handbrake, and it's gone out now, but above the temperature gauge there's a red warning light. Got to watch out for that. You've got to drive properly in one of these. You've got to watch the dials. You've got to check everything. Right, the light's gone out. Neutral, and you crank it. Touching nothing. That's what should happen. Right, your climate, this also incorporates the air con. You take it down to low, it'll be air con only. If you want to see if it's working, you have to go open the bonnet, see if the compressor's turning and see if the pipes are cold. If they're not, which they're not with this one, then I'm afraid you're on your own with that one. Clock, door switches. Right, hill descent, raise the air suspension, hazard, fuel cap, and rear and mirrors, and of course heated front screen. That's somewhere to keep your change, city lighter, lower high range, gear lever, and handbrake, and obviously the usual stuff. Right, that's for the CD player. Switch for headlights and indicators and wipers there. Down here you've got your range to alter the headlamps, and the best bit of all, electric folding mirrors. Woohoo! While you're here and the engine's running, you can check the mirrors and the windows. All the usual stuff. The more things work now, the less you'll have to change later. Now at this point, if the door's shut, you'll hear the air pump start. This is pumping up the rear suspension. It should run for a few seconds, then stop. Right, believe it or not, the back of the car is now going up by 1.5 inches. Although I can't want to tell. Anyway, to turn it off, and we're going back down again. In fact, it will drop back down if you do more than 5 miles an hour and you're not in low box. That one's hill descent. Can't do a test at the moment because I'm not on a hill. Right, so let's go for a drive. Get your seat in the right place. The controls are just here. There's all sorts of permutations, but you're going to get yourself comfy. The clutch is heavy. That's the way it is. Right. Any shaking on startup, any shaking or vibration means there's oil on the clutch or the dual mass flywheel is breaking up. Either way, you're looking at 1000 to 1500. When you turn the steering wheel, any groaning coming from it means the joint is wearing out. I've got away with it so far by sloshing lots and lots of oil on it. Is the steering arm right there. Any untoward groaning? Could be passengers of course, but it might not be, it could be that. I keep that blathered in oil, and so far I've managed to save changing it. It's possible to change it yourself, it's not that difficult. Not that I've done one, but I don't think it's that difficult. Anyway. Well, like I say, the first time I drove this I was appalled. It was just so weird. Everything's heavy, the gear lever's over there, there's no room. You can't even see the vehicles behind, the back door's so high. But I thought, I'll get used to it. And I did. But it's like, if you've never been in one before, it's like nothing else. So just be aware. The steering wheel, when the engine's running, and the wheels in the straight head position, should have no more than 1.5 inches playing it. Invariably, most models will now have high mileage, which means there's going to be lots and lots of lovely play in the diffs, prop shafts, and most of the drive line. The way in the gearbox, there's 180,000 on this, and you can feel every bump. You kind of get used to it. There's wear in the gearbox, but that kind of mileage, why not? With only a couple of people in, you can feel every bump. It's only until you get 6 or 7 people in that you start to get a comfortable ride. So basically, uncomfortable, uneconomical, unreliable, and why on earth would you bother? Come back to that later. Round about now, been running a few minutes, if you're on the drive and you pull up somewhere, like junction, traffic lights, a random interruption from the Royal Dragoon Guards, anything like that, listen to the dashboard. If there's a gurgling, I'm afraid that's a gurgle of death. That means the head gasket's gone or the head's cracked. Gas, exhaust gas, is forced into the cooling system, and that pressure forces the water down. There's a gurgling noise and the heater will blow cold. I'm just saying this now in case somebody's thought, oh well, I'll just take that pressure off the cap before somebody comes to have a look at it. So you can still tell if the head gasket's gone by the gurgle of death. Now the gearing is quite low, so you're going to have to do a lot of stick twiddling. Clutch is heavy. It is heavy. Crawling through the Blackpool illuminations, taking the kids to see the lights, is not fun at all. I would recommend the automatic. MPG 23-25 on a run. With a manual you get 28. It's really not worth it. Just go for the automatic. It's so much easier. It really is. Right. You should track more or less in a straight line, even when everything's good. But you do get some wander. Tyre pressures are critical. Tyres should be all even. They should be the same type, hopefully. And pressures in the front 28, in the rear 38. Now that's quite critical. So the handling, which there isn't any, but you try and hang on. We call this big Lollopy dog. Not because it's big, cute and friendly, but because the handling resembles a dog running across a field. Which means it's completely and totally vague. Like no handling, no comfort, that's the point. The point is you can drive to work in the snow. So, that's just test drive. I've usually found that the danger mileage for these vehicles varies from about 150 to 180,000. In that range, that's when everything goes. Ball joints, steering box, alternator, starter motor, radiator, the whole job lot, that's when it goes. Now, due to the age of these things now, a lot of the vehicles are in that range, which means you're going to have to pay out. You'll see advertisements for vehicles saying thousands spent. That means they spent thousands, but there's still thousands to spend because it's only halfway through doing stuff. So, like it or not, you're going to have to pay out. If you're not happy with that, get a Toyota Land Cruiser. During your test drive, we're now up to temperature. Temperature gauge is straight across. I'll have to show you that when we've stopped. You'll also notice one or two rattles. We've got the sunroof open, which of course you do, because it's summer. And your rattles. Okay. Let's turn the radio on. Due to the low gearing, it pulls 40 mile an hour in 5th gear quite adequately. The torque from the engine is quite awesome. That's why they make such a good towing vehicle. Right, I wouldn't go any faster than 70. On this one, I've had the ball joints done, I've had the steering box, I've had the third steering box, second hand. Drag link, whole job lot have all been changed. It's now reasonably okay. But any faster than 70 and you're taking a chance, in my opinion. This particular one, now the funny thing, where you did about 10 miles, the gear lever was like stirring concrete. You couldn't even tell which gear you were in. It was awful. And it's all due to heat, because when the box cooled down, it was fine again. Loose and wobbly and useless like it normally is. And I put that down to excess heat. I got around that by an additive which I got from Amatec. You might have heard of Amatec Restore, which you can pop in the engine. Not in the TD5, but in your ordinary engine, and it'll help considerably. I've used it, it's great. But not in the TD5. They also make a gearbox additive. Supposed to add additives, it says in the Land Rover book, but this stuff, spot on. That's the view you get through the rear view mirror. Right, sometime during the test drive you have to try the low box. So handbrake on, give all your stuff, neutral, clutch down, forward, plug into first. Now any play in the diffs, drive lines, will be exacerbated. So you've got to be careful with the clutch, otherwise it will snatch. Now I don't go off-roading as such, we're in the car park at the moment. This is just an example. Right, so that's your test drive. So you've checked the lower box, which were okay. Well, there's a lot more backward and forward motion. With an automatic though, it won't be as bad. You don't get as much wear in the drivetrain with automatics. It's manuals that seem to suffer from that. I do recommend an automatic. Main problems with automatics, as soon as you buy it, change the fluid and the filters, get it flushed, and then just keep an eye on the XYZ switch, or move the drain pipe for the air con, because it drips on it, and that's what makes it go funny. And the automatics are fine. While you're stopped, just pop around the hubs, see if any are overheating. Just try to put your finger in again. What you're looking for is any seized calipers. So they're going to be warm anyway, because you've been using the brakes. They shouldn't be hot. So they're okay, apart from this one is warmer than the rest. And I've been having trouble with the caliper on this one. It seems like I still have. If you experience any untoward jiggling when you set off from the back end, it's probably because the Watts linkage is worn. And the Watts linkage is there. What that does is hold the rear axle where it should be. There's a bush there, two there, and one there. This one was £200 from Emmets of Colne. They also do Land Rover spares, and they're very handy at popping things on if you ask them nicely. Right, rear suspension is on air, and those are the airbags. I would treat them as a service item if it's a genuine Land Rover part, 10 years. Spurious parts, 5 years, then change it. Regardless of any leaks, just change it. Treat it as a service item, and you'll have no bother whatsoever. They're actually quite easy to change in themselves. It's 2 clips at the top, plastic pipe, and they just twist and they come away from the axle. That's easy. The difficult part is jacking the thing up high enough to get that out. You've got to jack the body up, then drop the axle, and you have to have the thing really high. A couple of breeze blocks and a plank won't do. You've got to have the proper tools. And don't forget, there's this. Right then, we've had a test drive. We've ascertained that there's no performance, the door handle, and you can feel every bump. And they're going to be expensive to repair, and stuff's going to break. So there you go. If that's put you off, then fair enough. It probably wasn't for you in the first place. If you feel like proceeding, then you're going to have to look through the ads. And the ads are eBay or one of my favourite magazines, the Land Rover Owners International. There's lots and lots of good stuff in there, telling you how to paint your front axle even, and generally look after your D2. Right at the back, there's the classifieds. Now this is an old issue, so none of these cars for sale will probably still be here, so it's okay to do this. Right, just as an example, let's discover 3. Disco 2 2001, engine fully reconditioned, 7 forward seats, 18-inch alloys, 5,000. That will be a goodie. Like that, because it's expensive and there's had some work done on it. Didn't tell you what the mileage is though. 2002, fantastic example, comes with all the extra and everything works. Serviced by myself for 3,000 miles, wax all every summer. I struggle to find a better example. 3,700. Once again, no mileage. You'd have to look that one over carefully. There's a nice one. 2004 Discovery 2 ES Premium V8, low miles, new rear chassis. He's had some rot. So even though it'll be a low mileage, it's still had rot. So I had to replace the chassis. New suspension and full service. The one before that. Yes. Out of the pick of those, well, I don't think I fancy any of those, to be honest. There's Disco 1. These are series. Right, so that's where you're able to find them, or eBay. But Mr. Moggs's third rule is, if you have a decent vehicle that you like and it's running well, why are you going to sell it? You're not going to sell it till it's ready to break down. So thereby, most of the things for sale are going to have problems. Hopefully, a few of the things I've mentioned will let you be able to have a look at and decide for yourself. Ultimately, you have to get some more tools. You subscribe to a magazine. You're going to join clubs. You're going to get to meet people. You're going to meet lots and lots of recovery drivers and spare parts. And of course, if you have a V8, the local petrol station people. All in all, it's quite a social event having the Land Rover. So what's good about having one then? What's the point? Point is, I find it very difficult to explain what the point is. I've spent thousands on this, and it still has thousands to go yet. It's easy to find in a car park. Everything else looks alike. These stand out, so that's good. They stand out in a car park. You can chuck 7 people in, toddle off to the coast. You can have a picnic inside, you drop the rear seats down. You can do this. And then you can drop the seats down at the back and you can have turn it into a van and have 7-foot wardrobe mirror doors in, which I've done. You can tow your trailer with ease. You can tow a caravan with ease. You can even pile the grandkids in the back and go for a toddle off road, do a bit of green laning. That's what you can do, and you're safe in the knowledge that you've got a Land Rover. That's the main thing, you have a Land Rover. It's important having a Land Rover. But you have to put up with quite a lot to be a Land Rover owner. When you see another one coming the other way, you'll always check it out, because you kind of check out each other's rides. It's like a little brotherhood. A bit like bikers. And I dare say as these things get rarer, they'll probably get more of a brotherhood. Best one I would get is low mileage, full service history, been pampered, and, well, really well pampered, and it'll probably cost you about 5,000 to 6,000. That's the one to get. Not the little cheapy ones, the dear one, because that's the cream of the crop, and you're going to have to pay a lot. You can get the cheap ones, but you still end up paying a lot to get it right. You might not want to get it right, you might just be happy with it as it is. I'm not. I've got to have it right, because I'm fussy type. If you're just looking for a weekend off-roader, just a toy, fine, go for it. Yeah, do what you want. There's loads and loads of examples which have already been modded to some extent. Snorkels, light bars, lifts, it's all there. Go for it. But I didn't want that. I just wanted a little old Discovery, pile people in, tow my trailer, and most of all, still be able to get home in winter. And a couple of years ago, it did that really well. Yeah, but I was truly impressed. And that's, I think, what it's all about. The fact is, it's your Land Rover. and you've put it right, and you've fixed it, and you've grafted with it, and it's yours. And you'll be able to find it when you go down to Morrison's. Right, so to sum up, any gurgling from under the dashboard, any gases in the coolant are bad. Any juddering or shaking on startup from rest is bad. Rain coming in, extremely bad, because you get wet. So we covered the main points. Engine, transmission, it's all going to be worn. The age these vehicles are now, the youngest is 15 years old, so there's going to be some wear and tear. My advice is go for the automatic, they'll be a lot better. Right, so you've got your new Land Rover, you've toddled off home. So how do you keep it like it is? Well, you're going to have to keep an eye on stuff. Check the oils regularly. In fact, when you first get it home, unless you have documented evidence to prove otherwise, change both airbags, engine oil, gearbox, transfer box and diffs. Change the lot, then you know they're going to be good. If you change the airbags, they're going to be sound. You're not going to let you down. Alright, spurious ones, £80–90, Land Rover ones, a lot more, I don't know. They'll probably last 10 years with Land Rover ones. Spurious ones, change them after 5. Treat it as before, as a service item, and you can't go wrong. Yeah, and other stuff to do is get yourself some light oil, go around the hinges. Give them all a blast. Come to the door latch. Squirt it up in there. Right. Get plenty in there. Also in winter, I found is good. Squirt some down there. Get some WD-40 in that gap. Then water can't get in and freeze it, so preventing entry into the vehicle. Pop that out. Get to the handle latch. Give that a blast as well. It stops the handle sticking. Okay, you're going to get a bit of oil on you, but never mind. Pop that back. Like so. Keeps the barrel nice and oiled. If that barrel goes and you get a second hand one, it has to be keyed to the car because it affects the immobiliser. The key and the black on the lock are keyed to the car. So if we change that, then it's going to have to be a bloke with a laptop. I was lucky, I only had to change the electrical connection behind it. So I've still got my original barrel. And after that, you're just going to have to wipe a little bit of oil off your key. Pop a little drop in there, because you can use the key to lock the car, but if you want to leave your dog in the car, or the mother-in-law, or some fluttering bats or whatever, use the key, locks the car, but disables the interior sensors. How cool is that? Oh, another thing, the steering wheel goes up and down, does not adjust for rake. So I'm afraid if you've got short legs, you're not going to reach that clutch pedal. My wife can't drive this car because she's got little short legs. So she'd be okay with an automatic, but manual, no, can't push that clutch down because there's no giving the steering wheel. And that's just about everything. We've covered the engine, gearbox, sticking calipers. Right then, so I think I've covered everything I can think of. All this has come down from personal experience. There's loads and loads of other stuff which I've never had to deal with, like 3 Amigos. I put that down to actually off-roading and blathering things in mud and water, which perhaps shouldn't have. I don't know. But I've never had that bother. I've never off-roaded, and I've had it for 4 years now. Yes, what do you like them? I don't know. I wanted this when I first saw it. I fell in love with it then. So, and the trouble is, once you want something, you're gonna go for it, whether it's good for you or not. So my advice is, if you're going to see one, take somebody with you that can look at it objectively. Okay, because once you've got your mindset on something, you just brush all the little points aside. So just take somebody with it and knows what they're doing, or can give you a slap and say, whoa, there's another better one around the corner. Right, that's about all I can think of. So I'm going to say good luck with the new Discovery. Happy travels. I hope you get a decent one, and see you soon.